Hello everyone, and welcome to my video on how to use a basic spreadsheet. I know a lot of people have tried using them and they get confused, but it's really not as difficult as it sounds. If you can use a Word document, you can do an Excel spreadsheet. I do not use Microsoft Excel. I use OpenOffice spreadsheet. So if you're using Microsoft Excel, your commands may be a little different. There's really not much difference between Excel and OpenOffice. OpenOffice sometimes just requires you to do 2 steps instead of 1. But pretty much the functions are still the same. Oh yeah, the other thing difference too is in Microsoft Excel, when you look up here at the toolbar, some of the functions are not in these categories. They're in, instead of it being in format, it may be over in window or maybe over in tools or insert. I mean, it's kind of funky, but just kind of like, I tell any student that I've ever any student that I've ever had, play with it. Don't be afraid to mess with it. Open up a spreadsheet that you can just play with. And that way, if you do make a mistake, well, what's worse that's going to happen? You hit discard, and instead of saving it. Okay, so I'm going to give you the basics. All right, so when you open up a spreadsheet, you've got your toolbar, you've got your hotbars, these are all the things that you still find up here in your hotbar. Now, most functions also have a keyboard shortcut, and I will tell you the keyboard shortcuts. And you'll see me do a lot of keyboard shortcuts because with my site being the way it is, I can't see a lot of these that are up here. I mean, it's so tiny. I have such a tough time reading it unless I get right up on the screen. So for today, you'll be learning a lot about that as well. Okay, so think of your spreadsheet as a old-fashioned ledger, book ledger. In each of the ledgers, you have columns, like you do here, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, so on. Those are all columns, just like you find in a book. Then you have rows, just like you do in an old-fashioned ledger, and these are all numbered. So your rows are numbered, and your columns are lettered. Then these individual little teeny little bitty baby boxes are all called cells. And at the very, very bottom, you have down here called sheets. Now, we're not going to work with sheets today. Sheets are just basically, like I said, they are just like a sheet in a book. You ever run out of room here, which I kind of doubt you will. Or if you want to add some special tables or functions, then you use the sheets for something else. Or let's say it's the end of the year and you want to close your books out and you don't want to put your books on the same sheet. You want to put it on a different sheet like you would in an old-fashioned ledger. Well, then that's where these come from. And you can name these by simply right-clicking on the sheet like so. And as you can see, somewhere up in here, it'll say rename sheet. And you can rename it. A little box will pop up. You just rename it, whatever you want, 2021, 2022, 1934, whatever you want to name it. My dinosaur ate my homework, just whatever you want to name it. So going back up here, I've already pre-filled in this header row. When you do a spreadsheet, you generally as a rule want to do a header row. The reason being is that, it's kind of obvious. You're going to forget what's in those cells and you're going to forget what's each column and row. So for our purposes here, I just simply copied the header row from my inventory sheet that I use for tracking my inventory. I track a stock number, which is what I put all of my bags, I put my stock into different numbered bags. That's what that's for. And of course, the name of the item, whether it's I sell jewelry, so through Paparazzi, I'm an independent consultant. I put the type, whether it's a necklace, a ring, a bracelet, whatever. Then I put in the color. Now my items are all put into color bins, so this is really, really important. It will help me find what bin it's in. And then of course there's quantity, sale pending, whether I've put it on Facebook, live show, the live show number, and my cost. And then it just goes on. There's a few other little, I've got cost total, which is the total cost of quantity times the the cost. And then retail cost would be the amount that I paid for it. And then retail total would be the amount I paid for it times however many I have. Profit total would be I would be subtracting my cost total minus my retail total. Now I will cover this in another video because this video is probably going to be at least a half an hour, and I don't want to bore some of the people that already know how to do this. So in Excel spreadsheet, in any kind of Excel spreadsheet, when you put an information into a cell, let's say the name of this place, name of this piece I'm doing is called the Razzle. Okay, so Razzle is a ring. I'll just say it's a ring. No, I know I'm not capitalizing, but it's just for demonstrations. And it is colored in white. Okay? Now, and we have 3 of them. Now, let me explain something. When you tab, you use the actual tab key to go between the cells, such as I'm doing right now. See how I'm doing that? Okay. When I finish and I hit the enter key, it's going to go back to the very, very first cell that you started tabbing out of, which is pretty convenient, especially if you're putting in multiple items. So then let's say I have another item called the Rizzle, where the dinosaur ate my homework. Okay, and let's say the Rizzle is also a ring. Now, because I've already entered ring once into this column, all I have to do is hit the R. And if you notice, it's highlighted. Now, here's the difference between Microsoft and OpenOffice. If this was a Microsoft product, then all I have to do is hit the tab key and it would go on to the next cell over to the right. Unfortunately, if I do that with OpenOffice, this is what I get. It tells me I can't do it. So I have to hit the enter key, which, as you can now see, it goes back to the first. So all I do is I just use my arrow keys and I go back over. And let's say this one's blue. I just type in blue, just like I did. Now, if it was white, I could just type in the letter W and it'll pop up. And again, you know, I can go over, I can hit the tab key, and let's say I have 1. Oh, not 0. That would be silly to enter it. Okay. So the sale pending is all that is if I have, let's say I've sold a piece, but the person hasn't paid for it yet, then all I do is I hit 2, subtract 1, and I put 1 sale pending. Facebook pic, I just put an X to let me know that I have posted that. And then, of course, the rest of it's all self-explanatory. The next video I do, I promise you, I will teach you how to add and subtract in these cells. But for now, I'm going to show you how to customize your columns. If your columns are way too wide or they're way too short, do you see how this one's too short? See how it's now truncated? If you go up here, you see how when I put my cursor in between column C and column B and C, it changes from a regular cursor to a double pointed cursor. That's telling me that I can now move that column over. Now I can do this in one of 2 ways. Either A, I can click and drag it over and guess about how wide it needs to be, which as you can see now, it's too wide. Or the other thing I can do is bring that little cursor back up and I double click. And when I double click, it automatically makes it the size that makes it shorter than the longest item that's in there. So just, let's say I have this big old honking name. So I need to make it bigger. So then again, as you can see, I've got the double-ended cursor and I just double click and see how it moves it over. Okay. So then you may be asking your question, how would let's say I want to make my the live show column shorter. Well, again, if you drag it over to where you want it, if you see how it automatically wrapped, the reason why it automatically wrapped is because let's say I didn't have it wrapped, okay, already. You have to actually set this up. So what you do is you come over here. Do you see where it says just above my cursor, it says Format Cell? Here, let me get a little closer so you can see. You go to Format Cells, and this other box pops up. Now, when you format a cell and you've already got lettering in it, the alignment tab automatically should come up. I don't remember if it does it with Excel or not. It's been a while. And if you notice right here, see this where it says about wrapping the text? Let me come a little closer so you can see it a little easier. Do you see that? It says wrap text and that box is checked. When you check that box and you move your column, it automatically stacks the lettering on top of each other. If I didn't have that clicked, then it would get, show would get truncated, or you just wouldn't be able to see it all. So then, like I said, you click it and you hit OK. Now, the other few things you can do here is you notice you can set your font and your font size. You can also decide whether you want it bolded, italicized. This little thing is really super cool. If you don't want your lettering vertical or horizontal and you want it vertical, you can actually change it over in this section right through here. Or if you want it diagonal for whatever reason, you can pick this little thing up right here and you can drag it anywhere on this wheel, and that's about the angle of your lettering. So we're not going to do that. I'll let you play with that. It's kind of fun to play with. And then you hit OK. And again, like I said, if this wasn't truncated before, so because I already have wrapped text, I can drag this over to where I want it. And now you see it's got a little bit, there we go. Nope. Just play with it, ladies. I mean, it's not as scary as you think. And like I said, in the next video, I will show you how to add and subtract items out of these columns here. So I will talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.